Hi, and welcome back to Craft Along with Jay. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Yada, and I'm so happy you could join me today. Today is the second day of the 12 Days of Christmas, which is hosted by Brenda from Rustic and Lace DIY and Jackie from Crafting in Mimi's World. And the theme today is wood rounds. And when you're done with this video, don't forget to go down to my description box and find the host channels and the playlist and check everybody out. Okay, here's my wood round, and I've taped it off at the bottom and the top because I just want to paint that middle, and I used antique green, I believe. Antique green or Christmas green. And I'm going to use this Merry Christmas stencil, and I'm going to lay that down, and I'm going to tape it with some painter's tape just to help me hold it in place so it's not moving around on me when I start um, dabbing my paint on the stencil. And I'm just going to use Waverly's chalk paint in the color white. And I'm using this little mini makeup sponge that I found at the Dollar Tree. So I'm trying that out to see if that kind of works better for me. I'm not the greatest with stencils. They tend to bleed a little bit, even though I'm holding it down, and use minimal paint on my sponges. So I'm just kind of figuring out, working with different things to see what works best for me. And this worked out really well for the most part. It's just a couple of the snowflakes bled a little bit, but the rest of it turned out really nice. So I do like this little mini sponge right here. But you'll see, I do end up painting over those snowflakes that I'm not happy with, and then I redo them a little bit later in the video, and it looks so much better. But anyway, sometimes you just kind of work around and see what works for you. So, and that's what I'm doing right here. And I'm doing a little bit at first, and then I add a little bit more, and I end up giving it 2 full coats just to make sure I have the coverage that I'm looking for. So, but it looks like I'm going fast, but I'm really not. I'm actually going quite slow, doing my best to try to hold the stencil down as I'm going around so it won't bleed as much. But yeah, for the most part, it turned out great. I'm really happy with it. You'll see it here in a minute when I take the stencil off. It's like a final reveal in itself to see how crisp it looks. So I'm just going around a little bit more where I feel like it needs a little extra. And here it comes. So for the most part, it turned out really great. Like I said, just I think it's 3 of the snowflakes that bled a little bit, or 2 of them. And I paint those over with the green and do them over just so I have a nice look. So here, yeah, painted them over. And while I'm waiting for that to completely dry, I'm going to use this scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to add that to the top and the bottom where I haven't painted yet. And I'm just going to lay it down, and then I'm going to press around the edge so I know where to cut. I think this is probably the easiest way to do it without like drawing on it. So, but this leaves a nice crease. So, yeah, this works for me. And I'll just cut around. And then I end up having to cut, a smaller piece for the edge where the paper didn't cover. It wasn't big enough to go all the way across, but you can't even tell. It looks really nice. So yeah, it all worked out. So here's my piece. And then I'm just going to use my Elmer's glue stick, and I'm just going to cover up the paper on the back, and then I'll lay it down on my little wood round. And I believe this wood round is from Hobby Lobby. It comes in a pack of 3, 4, 5, something like that. So they're a little bit on the thin side, but they're a little bit bigger than the ones at the Dollar Tree. So yeah, this is the size that worked for me for this project. And here I'm just laying down my paper, and I'm making sure to smooth it out really well, and making sure I press really hard around the edge so that way it's secure, and nothing is going to be all floppy and popping up or anything like that. So Here I'm just lining it up the way I like it, making sure it's straight. And then here we're smoothing it out. Here I go around the edge just to make sure it's stuck all the way across. And then I'm going to cut a little piece for that corner there. It's like a little triangle. And once I get that piece on there, you can't even tell that there's a cut. So, yep. And then what I did here at the bottom, I'm doing the same thing to the top part of my wood round. I don't think I'm showing you the whole wood round. I think I just show the bottom and then, you know, well, I showed a little corner at the top, the big piece I got on, but it's the same process as I did at the bottom. And then I just line it up. Oops. I think I got a little bit of glue on my finger. That's why it keeps pulling it to the side. But here we go. Lining it up and press down. And just make sure you get around the edges. Very important. And then I think I'll let it sit for a few minutes and then I'll go in with my X-Acto knife and just kind of go around the edge, but it's like a tiny bit of paper. So, yes, you can see it's very little. So, yeah, kind of tracing with my finger and then cutting worked out really well. And then I just wanted to use some jute twine to go across where the paint and the paper meets, just to give it a nice little edge. And I do it here on the top, and then I also do it on the other side, on the bottom part of the stenciling. And then when I do that part, then I go around the whole wood round as well. And it gives it a nice finished look to it. I don't think I'm showing you all the way around. I hope not. If I did, I'm so sorry. But yeah, here we go, starting on the round part. There we go. All right. And then I got this ribbon, like Christmas ribbon that I've had in my stash for, I don't know, a year or two. And then I'm just doing a loop. I'm just measuring to see how big I want my bow to be. And I'm adjusting my loop accordingly, and then I'll cut it. And sometimes I glue them together and sometimes I just overlap, so I'm not sure what I'm doing. Well, I'm unfolding the edge is what I'm doing here, but here we go. Okay, yeah, I'm gluing it across here to hold it in place. Like so, and then I just fold it down, and then I make another loop that's a smidge smaller than the other one. And then I do the same thing, add some glue and put it together, and then lay it down on the other one. There we go. I just take a little bit of the excess glue off and then press it down, and then put it on top of my other one. And then I'm going to make a little bit of a tail. And I don't want it too long. And then I fold it in half so I know where to scrunch it up in the middle. And then I just kind of pull them down so the tails are going down in the same direction. And I put a little clip on it to hold it in place for me while I work on my loops over here. And yeah, I just kind of wanted the green to go with the green stripe. That's just a preference on my part. And then I just go and sit up in the middle, and I take some jute twine and I just tie a knot in the back, and then I'll add my tail on top, and then I'll continue tying my jute twine around all of it. And I double knotted at this point, and I tied real tight. And then I'm also cutting the green stripe out from a piece of the ribbon to glue it around the middle of my bow. Sometimes I'll put like a button or an embellishment in there, but I'm just cutting out one of the green stripes from the ribbon and looping that around. And I'm ducktailing my tails and then fluff up my bow. So I don't think I'm showing you that I'm putting that thing on in the middle of my bow, but you should probably be able to tell it when I get it on my wood round. And here we go, adding my bow. And then I'm also adding some jute twine to the back as a hanger. And here you go. That's what it looks like. I think it's absolutely adorable. And my bow's so fluffy you can't even see the middle part. But let me know what you think. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video with me. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Until next time.